Yeah, I'm also happy to see that some people have already left, because what I'll be talking about today is not the benefits of OKR, but the actual pain that you'll have when you get started with OKRs in your organization. We've seen the theory. In theory, every OKR is great, but when you really want to roll it out to your organization, you run into all sorts of troubles. Now, a quick show of hands. Who here is already working with OKRs in the organization? And for who has the implementation been an overnight success? Okay, that's my point. My other point is that most of the speakers here today are OKR consultants. So there's this whole service industry, with all respect, that has been created around it because organizations need help to implement OKR. Now, I'm not an OKR consultant, but I am part of a team that has built an OKR software that's being used by hundreds of organizations. And with the majority of them, we have a good relationship. And from them, we have learned what are actually the challenges that they face. So I'll be sharing them with you today. There are 3 mistakes that I've observed myself, and there are 4 complaints that I hear most from customers. And I'll try to keep it as short as possible and as simple as possible. I'll also give you very simple solutions for how to overcome these challenges, all with the objective to make your OKR program a success. Yeah, so I need to click twice. I have presenter notes because otherwise I lose track. Introduce OKRs as silver bullet. These CEOs and executives, they go away, they read a book about OKR, and everything is great in these books. So they come back from a summer holiday and they go back in the company and they say, this is great, it's going to solve all the problems that we have, this is amazing, let's do it. And then they also communicate it like that to the organization. And then those are also the expectations that the organization will have. Now, if you are the one driving the implementation of OKR in your company, you will overcome these challenges. You are not the problem. But the problem is that the majority of employees, they will give up if you promise them all these great things. And after 1 month of working with OKRs, they realize it's just difficult and just creates extra work for them. So the solution that I have for you is to introduce OKR as a vegetable. So when you explain vegetables as a parent to your kids, you say, okay, yeah, you may not like it, but it's important that you do it, because if you don't do it, you get ill. And so you should explain OKR to your organization. Yes, you may not like it, but it's very important for the company. Otherwise, the company will get ill. I'm glad that Philippe likes it. The other problem is rushing the process of setting OKRs, and this is what I see the vast majority of organizations do. I don't get it, because for me, 90% of the value of OKR is taking some time out each quarter, or however often you want to set OKRs, to look around, breathe some air, and start thinking about what are the major problems that we need to solve in the upcoming quarter, what are the problems that we want to tackle, and the ambitions that we want to realize. So if you rush that process, you lose something that, in my opinion, is the major benefit of OKR. Now, the reason why organization may rush it is because it's hard to identify what are the right OKRs to work on. And the reason it's so hard is because key results, or what are good key results, is subjective. So imagine that it's my objective today to give a presentation at the OKR Forum, right? Then my key results will be, okay, I need to design the presentation, maybe I want to test the presentation, maybe I should have done that, and then I need to deliver the actual presentation, right? And then I've achieved my objective to give a presentation at the OKR Forum. However, if I want to give an awesome presentation at the OKR Forum, then my key results will be different. Then I would have key results that say, okay, I want to have the loudest applause of all speakers, and I want to be asked to speak again next year. These would then be good measures of success. So it's very different. So actually what I want to say is forget about everything that you read about key results and outcomes versus outputs. What's absolutely important is that you use your OKRs, what matters to you. And that is subjective. However, what I was trying to say with my example is that it also depends a lot on the objective. So if your objective is just to give a good presentation, then it's all about completing certain tasks. But if your objective is to give an awesome presentation, then the key results are very, very different. So this is a process that takes time to figure out what matters to you, what matters to the business, and it's something that I would definitely not rush. So that's my very simple solution. Take time to figure out what matters. Take a week in the beginning of every quarter. The next one, using OKRs to measure everything. This is something that I totally do not get. I see people talking on the internet about switching from KPIs to OKRs, which I think is absolutely nonsense. Maybe this has a lot to do for the use case that you have for OKR. I think OKRs are primarily a growth tool, a tool to help you implement the strategy, a tool to help you translate the longer-term strategy into shorter-term goals that employees and teams will actually be working on. And if you take that example, then OKRs are a great tool to measure the progress that you want to make within your organization. But to implement your strategy, you need two types of goals. And an analogy that I use a lot is the one of a roadmap. So I'll show you what a roadmap would look like. We always start with the ultimate goal of a company, and then based on that ultimate goal, you can develop what is your strategy. And every strategy you can easily convert into strategic OKRs. And these strategic OKRs you can translate to annual OKRs, and then the quarterly OKRs that teams and individuals will actually work on. But the analogy that I use a lot is that of a car. So if you will be driving a car towards a certain destination, and that car is your organization, and that destination is ultimately your mission and vision, or the ultimate goal of your business, then OKRs are a great tool to help you map out your path towards that point. In some way, you can work your way backwards towards implementing the strategy, towards implementing the ultimate goal of your organization. But as you're driving that car, you also need to keep an eye on your car's dashboard to make sure that the engine doesn't overheat and to make sure that you don't run out of gas. And these things that you find on a car's dashboard, these things that you constantly have to watch, that will be the business as usual of your company. And that is simply best measured by KPIs. So to implement strategy in summary, you need KPIs and you need OKRs, and the two of them are the only goals you need to effectively implement your strategy. Now we're switching to the complaints that I hear a lot from organizations that we work with, and also the ones that we don't work with. And then they say, oh my God, OKRs are not taking off as expected. And yeah, it has come up a little bit already, but my solution for this is don't put HR in charge. Is there anyone from HR here? Okay, well... I don't want to offend anyone, but in my view, the person that has the most to benefit from OKR is the CEO of the organization. The CEO is responsible for to grow the business. And to grow the business, you need a strategy. That strategy needs to be designed, and that strategy needs to be implemented. And that eventually, or ultimately, is the responsibility of the CEO. If the CEO will fail to do so, you can be sure that the owners of the company will start looking for a different person. And I think that OKRs will help him implement the strategy. I think he or she is the person that has most to benefit from it, and this is something that you cannot outsource to HR. In fact, I had a conversation with Peter just now, and I think after that conversation that the organizations that do outsource OKR to HR, for them it's kind of like a checklist feature. So yeah, we want to be a company that also does OKR. HR, please go ahead and make sure that everybody sets OKRs every now and then. However, HR, I think, is great to run the operational part of the program. So to make sure that you educate employees on how does OKR work in this business, make sure everybody sets their OKRs on time, and these type of things. Next one, OKRs create too much overhead. What I see some organizations do is they read books about OKR, they go on the internet, there's tons of content about OKRs on the internet, then they read it, they write down all these rules, all these things that you have to do, and that's what they throw into the organization. And that simply doesn't make sense. Introducing OKR is essentially change management, and if there's one thing that you want to do with change, is that you want to introduce it gradually. I'm not sure if you know the boiling frog story, But if you throw a frog in boiling water, it will jump out. And if you throw it in cold water and then slowly cook the water, then he won't notice it. Now, not saying that you should boil frogs, but I mean, the essence of OKR is super simple, right? Like, you take some time out of your quarter to start thinking about, okay, what is most important for the upcoming period? And then the only things that you have to do is you need to make someone responsible. You want someone to be looking after that goal. Doesn't mean that that's the only person working on it. That person can loop in other people and make sure that all the work gets done by different parts of the company to achieve that OKR. But someone will have to be looking after it. If you make multiple people responsible, no one is responsible. And then you need to keep that person accountable. And to keep someone accountable, that usually runs through reporting lines. So everybody has a manager in a business, and a manager should have a one-on-one, weekly or bi-weekly, with the people that report to them. And in that meeting, you should review the OKRs and kind of like act like a coach for the people that report to you. So, hey, this goal is off track. Why is it off track? Do you have a plan to get it on track again? And is there something that I or the organization can do to help you with that? In my view, those are the only steps that you have to take. And yes, you can do a lot more, but especially in the beginning, I would remove everything that could be a possible obstacle to implement OKR. And you can always make it more complex later. You can always add more things to it. Yeah, I'm not keeping pace with the slides, but that's the message. Keep it simple. A few more, staying well within the time. OKR is too rigid for us. I don't think that ever happens. I don't think OKR is too rigid. I think you are too rigid. OKR is, I mean, ever since Peter Drucker launched management by objectives in the early 1950s, objectives started playing a more important role within businesses. And over the past 70 years, we've learned a lot about what works, what doesn't work. And the way I look at OKR is that it's not much more as a collection of best practices. And you should pick out of that what works for your business. So you should tailor the framework to your organization. And don't do, I mean, some organizations, they just tell us what to do and we'll do it, then they implement it that way, and then it doesn't work, they give up, it's too rigid, it doesn't work for us, which I think is absolutely nonsense. Like, you should adapt the framework to what works best for your business. Quick example of this, Andrew Chen, which is a very famous investor, works for Andreessen Horowitz. I saw him saying something on LinkedIn the other day where he said, OKRs are nothing for startups. And we don't target startups with our company, so I have no interest in what I'm going to say now. But the only reason he thought that was the case was because you set OKRs quarterly, and that's simply too long-term for a startup organization. For me, this is the symbol of how people approach it. I think it's absolutely nonsense. We started working with OKRs from day one at Perdoo. And of course, quarterly goals were too long for us. So what we did, we started with monthly OKRs. Then doing that for a while, we realized that 25% of every month, we were thinking about, okay, what are the OKRs to work on? And then we spend only 3 weeks working on it. So then we moved it up to 6 weeks, and now we're at quarterly OKRs. So even such a core component of OKRs, you can completely customize to what works best for your organization. Yeah, I only have one more. My people hate ambitious targets. Yeah, I totally get that. So just ditch them. I don't know why, if you go on the internet, that some people seem to equate OKRs with stretch goals. I mean, as I said before, for me, the real value of OKR is taking some time out to think about what you should be working on. And if you want to stretch yourself, go ahead, but that is cultural. It doesn't work for everybody. We have 50% of our customers are in the US, 50% are in Europe. And in the US, we see that people feel very comfortable with stretch goals. But in Europe and in Germany also, you see that people are a bit more conservative. So they don't like that. They want to get to 100%, 110 or 120% maybe even. So, yeah, and then I also think that stretch OKRs are complex, by the way, because it's already difficult, especially in the beginning, to figure out what are the right things to work on. And then you identify a key result and you think, are we stretching ourselves right now? Should we stretch ourselves a little bit further? I mean, in the beginning, that's completely not necessary. You can always try stretch OKRs at a later point if you want to. So yeah, if it's up to me, I would say just leave them out and ditch them. Yeah, that's everything, I think. So if you want my advice, these are the 7 tips that I have for you. Introduce OKR as a vegetable. Take time to figure out what actually matters. I mean, if you don't put in your OKRs what actually matters, then why would you ever go through the pain of updating them, closing them, and do all these things? I mean, if you don't care about them, no one is going to look at them, and then you're really doing it for nothing. So take time to figure out what matters. Use OKRs to build, improve, and innovate. In other words, use OKRs to break out of the status quo, to solve problems, to improve certain things within your organization. But don't use it for your business as usual. If you use it for your business as usual, you'll have the same OKRs every quarter, and then people are thinking, why are we setting OKRs? Like, they're the same every quarter. It makes no sense. Keep it. Don't put HR in charge. Yeah. Still think that's the best thing to do. Keep it simple. Ditch stretch OKRs, especially if you're in Europe and if you're new to them, and tailor the framework to your organization. Now, I try to keep it as simple as possible, but I've also written recently an ebook that we published yesterday, which is the Growth Handbook for CEOs. This explains in more detail how you can use OKRs to grow your business and to implement your strategy. And you can download a free copy on perdoo.com/forward growth.